You're listening to the Black Eagles podcast.
İbrahim'in pası, Zuma, şimdi Ahmet, ikinci gole gidiyor Beşiktaş, Ahmet,
And welcome back, everybody. This is episode 219 of the Black Eagles podcast. That's right, and I'm your host, Sinan Schwarting, live from New York City. Chilly over here, though the weather's up and down, much like Beşiktaş's form, and things are moving in the right direction. Much like Beşiktaş's form, we could say. Spring is supposedly right around the corner, and we've had a few spring days already. Much like Beşiktaş's season. The weather and Beşiktaş always seem to go hand in hand. My weather, New York's weather. Although I think we're actually kind of... Istanbul and New York almost always have similar weather somehow. And being on the same line of... latitude, perhaps, or whatever it is, might have something to do with it, but at least climate-wise. Way off topic, aren't we? At least we're not thinking about war, right? For a brief moment in time, we got to watch some Beşiktaş and put our heads elsewhere. I mean, it was hard for me, to be honest, to not think about all the crap going on in the world and to not be like checking in on that, but nonetheless, right? Beşiktaş played fantastic match against a very difficult opponent on the road. Sivas is never easy to beat on the road, but so let's talk about this. A huge match.
Operation is in effect as of right now.
So, like I said, in calling this a huge match, it's huge. It sets off what is going to be the most difficult part of our season coming up, no doubt about it. In talking about that, I guess I'll just talk about that first off, right off the bat. So first we had Sivas on the road, which was inevitably going to be... It's always a difficult match. And then we're hosting Kayserispor in the Turkish Cup. A huge one, right? Round of 16. Oh no, excuse me. Yeah, we're already in the quarterfinals. So... that's a very big match. And then we're hosting Başakşehir here. Right, worth mentioning that they're still ahead of us in the table, but by 2 points. So that match means everything to us. Absolutely. And then we keep things moving as far as importance, right, goes. We play away against Galatasaray. We're not done yet. Not yet. Next week after that, March 19th, we're hosting Hatayspor. And then the week after that, we're on the road visiting Trabzonspor. And just to round things off, for anyone who thought you would just be done getting off easy there, the week after being on the road in Trabzon, we host Alanyaspor. So basically, these next 6 matches will make or break our season. And it doesn't hurt or help, right? Because either we get into a bad run of form and we collapse at the worst time, or, we get into a good run of form and we build off of victories and make something of this. It remains to be seen. You could actually kind of say it could go either way. We've shown flashes of really poor form where we had like 4 draws in a row. And then on the flip side, things might be turning, so... Let's first of all talk about that, because I'm already spoiling this match's contents, if you will. But before I even dig into that, I have to talk about a little bit of news. So first of all, of significance, I guess, is talk of us signing Edgar Ie, who many will, of course, remember is a Trabzonspor player, or was a Trabzonspor player, got injured to the extent that he'll be out until next September. But because of that, Trabzon froze his contract, let him go. Under the expectation, they even said themselves that they would bring him back when the time came. Now, potentially, it sounds like Beşiktaş might want to try to scoop him up if they can, which would be a pretty funny move. But, that's what you get for freezing a guy's contract and letting him go because he's injured, right? That's not necessarily responsible management. So, in a way, it's kind of just desserts, so to speak. So, that's a bit of transfer news. There's some other stuff, but nothing that got as well sourced as that one. On the coaching front, supposedly we're getting closer to Nuno Espirito Santo, or Nuno Santo, who many will recognize because he's on quite a career arc, management-wise, where he went from Porto to Wolverhampton to Tottenham, which was a bit of a surprise move by Tottenham, I think, but nonetheless, he got sort of scooped up by Tottenham and has already since been fired. So it remains to be seen if Beşiktaş is in fact a realistic a move for a guy like that. In theory, right, with the career arc he was on, it'd be a step down. If he thinks he can be in the Premier League coaching, but on the other hand, it didn't go especially well in his last stint, and that last move was a bit of a surprise even still. So, I don't know. We'll see, I guess is what I'll say. We'll see if, in fact, there's any realism to that. On the other side, Jessie Marsch, American coach who we'd been linked to, in that first initial scrum post Sergen's being fired. And he was in the mix with Daniel Farke in the very beginning. He's been signed by Leeds United, which is interesting. With that said, Evran, former co-host, if anyone recalls the old days, was sort of the mind that we should sign instead. The guy who Jessie Marsch had replaced at Leeds United, what's his name? Marcelo Bielsa, right? I think that's who he was talking about. The Argentinian coach, who's a bit of a knucklehead, as far as I'm aware, but also notoriously creative and lots of attacking energy to the style of play he likes to adopt. So that could be fun. Anyway, nothing official anywhere, just rumors still. So with that said, let's finally dig into the big match against Sivas. Again, on the road. Now, first of all, we should talk about head-to-heads. I have here 19, 23. 20 in their last 23 matches, so that's as far back as my app goes. I don't know if those are the only 23 matches we've ever played against them, but anyway. It's actually quite interesting. Beşiktaş has won 11 of those matches. Sivas 8, and there are 4 draws. So it's actually one of the more even series, especially outside of the big rivalry, the big clubs in Turkey. It's a club that has notoriously been very difficult against Beşiktaş, and I wouldn't be surprised if many of those 8 victories that Sivas has against us came at home for them. They have a legitimate fan base, for starters, and at the Yeni Sivas 4th of Eylül Stadium, it's a legitimate stadium, at the very least with legitimate fans who make a lot of noise, and it's clearly become a place that we've struggled in historically. I think if you want to talk about our most recent results, fine. In October we beat them 2-1, right at home. But prior to that, on the road last season in April, right with everything, when we were at a pretty decent run of form, we managed only a 0-0 draw against Sivas. So, previously we'd lost in a friendly with them. We'd lost at home against them in 2020, January. We'd lost on the road before then, early on in the season. So, and it was 3-0 they beat us. So, they have a history of being a foil for us. They're really a tough club, no doubt about it. So, clearly it was going to be a match that would not be easy for anyone. This season, they're sort of chugging below standards for them, very, very much mid-table. I think they were in 10th place coming into the match. Far from ideal for them, but whatever. Well, that's not what we're here to talk about. We're here to talk about Beşiktaş. We're here to talk about this match. Let's talk about the lineup, first of all. So for us, of course, it's Ersin Destanoğlu in the goal. Then you have Javi Montero next to Wellington on the back line, which was interesting. Valentin Rosier and Umut Meraş on our wing backs, rather, or full backs even. Necip and Atiba on the back line of our midfield, which is interesting, with Alex ahead of them, Alex Teixeira. Kenan Karaman back with Rashid Ghazal opposite him, and Michy Batshuayi up front. Nobody's preferred lineup, I think we can all agree. On the one hand, Kenan Karaman had probably his best match of the season in the previous match, which isn't saying much. His best match of the season didn't amount to very much, if we're going to be 100% honest. With that said, I think that certainly explains the logic of him playing. He provides more depth to his game than Kyle Larin, especially of late, right? If Kyle Larin's not scoring, he's really not providing much. And that's very much so been the case this season. To see Atiba and Necip on that back, in our midfield like that, a little bit concerning, right? No one's lying here. It's a lot of defensive midfielders. On the other hand, it's a road match against Sivas, right? Like I said, a notoriously difficult one. So perhaps, right, there's some thinking to that, right? He's trying to clog up the midfield, hold things down there a little bit to make sure that there's a solid foundation to build on, rather. Maybe focus a little bit more on doing things on the counter than we would typically do. Or at least that's, I think, very, very likely the logic. Worth noting, so their coach is Riza Çalınbay. We, of course, brought out Under Karaveli. For their lineup, their goalkeeper was Muammer Yildirim, which is interesting. They have Gökhan Akash typically playing for them, so I don't know what the story is with that, why he's not their go-to guy right now if he's injured. On their back line, it's Dimitrios Goutas, 27-year-old Greek defender, next to Samba Kamara, 29-year-old Malian. The left back, Uğur Çiftçi, 29-year-old Turk, opposite Caner Osman Pasha, 34-year-old Turk. In their midfield, Isaac Kofi, 30-year-old Ghanaian, next to Fajr, Fajr, I have no idea how to pronounce it. He was phenomenal, though, I will say. 33-year-old Moroccan. And Hakan Arslan would round out the center of their midfield. 33-year-old Turk, who I think many will recognize the name of. Up top, they would have Pedro Henrique, 31-year-old Brazilian, who's been around the Super League a little bit. Opposite Erdoğan Yeşilyurt, 28-year-old German Turk, with Mustafa Yatabari, the 36-year-old Malian striker, who's also got a name for himself in the Super League, no doubt. So, a pretty recognizable starting 11. Lots of talent, no doubt about it, for Sivas, despite very middling results thus far. So let's talk about this match, shall we? First of all, the first real action, a yellow card for Wellington in the 3rd minute, of course, right? What do you expect? That's just what he sort of does. The first real, goalmouth action would go to Sivas. It was Yatabari bringing the ball up from wide, taking a shot, forcing a bit of a save from Ersin. He'd get down, make an easy save of it, but that's in part because of his positioning and, his wherewithal, if you will. Next real action would come in the 11th minute, and it's Rachid Ghazal dribbling up the right side fancily. It looks like he's going to dump the ball off to, I think maybe it was Necip or something, but instead he takes a step with it and keeps going a little bit further, sort of almost he dribbles behind their line of defense in a way that's always dangerous, right? You know, he's going to center it, and if anyone can get on the other end of it, it's very likely going to be a goal. In this case, that's not quite what happens. It's well placed, but it kind of drops to Atiba, who does well to kind of just control it and make sure it stays in the path, you know, kind of hold his defender off, but fairly in a way so it finds the foot of Alex Teixeira, who makes a really slick touch of it, dropping it right perfectly into the path of Michy Batshuayi, who takes a lovely one-touch volley on it right into the corner of the net, perfectly placed. Sure enough, Beşiktaş is up. We actually scored that goal that we always complain about not being able to score. Fantastic. Batshuayi's 10th goal of the season. So Batsman, for all the criticism, putting together quite a year. Gotta say it. Sorry, I know folks don't want to hear it necessarily. The next real action would be the 22nd minute. I don't know who centered it in, but it would find Hakan Arslan on the head, and he would bring it to head it down perfectly, but just wide of our goal. So they were very much, you know, looking for something to come back, you know, and hit us back on the counter with. 26th minute, a free kick from fairly deep would find the head of Yatabare, and he would send it down much like Hakan Arslan just had, only with slightly more precision. You know, some could make the argument that Ersin Destanoğlu should have been able to do better with it. It kind of slides under him. I mean, these things happen. It's not the end of the world. Every goalie, you know, every keeper allows one of those every so often. So it's not like, you know, red alert or anything by any stretch. But so yeah, it's level 1-1. As you'd almost expect, right? We're in Sivas. This is not going to be an easy match. It just couldn't possibly be. It's not in the programming, right? But sure enough, we're awake, and it's a good response from us from their equalizing. 34th minute, the next real opportunity, a corner kick from Ghazal would find Wellington's head, and he would slam it into the crossbar really well, almost giving us the lead right away. And not like just 8 minutes later, 42nd minute, Umut Meraş with a fantastic cross, perfectly finding the head of Rachid Ghazal, and he slams it with his head into the back of the net. You know, him running onto the ball. It's an in-swinging curving cross, perfectly placed by Umut Meraş, perfectly found by Rachid Ghazal. And so there you have it. Goals from Michy Batshuayi and Rachid Ghazal, assists by Alex Teixeira and Umut Meraş. A couple newcomers. Few newcomers. Everyone with the exception of Rachid Ghazal. I'm sure there you have it. We are leading 2-1, and that's how it would go into the half. And out of the gates, you know, in the second half, it would not, you know, both sides were sort of tenuous at this point. A little nervous. Nobody wanted to make a big mistake. Of course, Sivas had more to play for, had to get back into this one, but they weren't pressing to the extent that you might assume they would. 50th minute, Atiba got himself a yellow card. I don't recall it, to be honest. 56th minute, Joseph would enter the match for Necip Uysal, and I'm at this point thinking that's a good move, right? We don't need any dumb mistakes. Joseph is the more solid player. If he's fit enough to play at all, get him in there and sort of lock this game down. And not just that, but also he provides more kind of ability on the ball. He can control things better, calmly, you know, move the ball around without doing anything crazy or reflexive, right? 68th minute, Guven Yalçın would come on for Alex Teixeira. Okay, that's okay. Right? I feel like that's okay. Alex Teixeira is still easing his way back into the rotation here. He's tired. You can tell, you know, and his form is always flagged when that happens, so that's fine, you know. There was a play where, like, he was trying to round the defense on the left side, and he clearly was just like a step off pace-wise, right before he got subbed. And still, he like got to the ball and kind of like found a gap and centered it fairly decently. We almost got a really good chance out of it, but you could also tell that he'd lost that step through fatigue. So, okay, Guven Yalchin it is. I'm okay with it, right? I think we all sort of are. Maybe Kenan Karaman could have left, but whatever. For them, it's Olaren Waju Kayode on for Pedro Henrique. And right around then, it's Guven who's bringing the ball into the box along the left side. Kind of takes a sort of, it's a nice leading ball to him, by the way, and he takes a little dribble on it. It bounces around. Looks like there's a bit of action in the box. Guys kind of raise their hand for a handball, but we play on. Almost score anyway. And it goes out. I don't remember if it would have been a corner kick or a goal kick, but they look at it through VAR, and sure enough, there was a handball on it. And so Guven Yalchin forcing them into an error defensively. Michi Batshuayi steps up, sends it sort of towards the center, just left, but with power, and he sent the keeper the other way. So it's a big goal for us. We're up now 1-3 on the road in Sivas, of all places. It's a fantastic result for us at this point. 76th minute, Kerem Keskin enters for Isaac Kofi for them. And then a really great chance falls for us. Rashid Ghezal finding Kenan Karaman really well in space. Kenan Karaman dribbling forward with some pace in a one-on-one position with the keeper. To be fair, it's I think with his left foot, but somehow can't find the back of the net. Forces a save, however, which results in another, I think, a corner kick, and then that results in a free kick. And so 2 minutes later, Rashid Ghezal sends in a shot from just outside of the box with the free kick, and it pings off the post. Again, that's 2 posts in this match, right? Wellington once, Ghezal the second. And again, we're almost a 4th goal. Whatever's. In the 83rd minute, Musa Konate comes on for Samba Kamara. And it's also right around there where we are flagged for a handball. It's Joseph. I guess it was a handball. I mean, certainly it was. His arm was in an unnatural position. It did hit his hand, apparently. I honestly did not see this replay somehow. I don't know if I was making a coffee or something, but whatever. It's a penalty. And it's Faisal Fire. I don't know how to pronounce his name. Fajr. But yeah, he puts it away really nicely. Strong to the left. Ersin even goes the right way, but just can't get there quick enough. And so yeah, of course, naturally, right? Of course we're going to get a little scare late in this one. So 83rd minute, and now it's 2-3. They blow for 8 minutes of extra time, naturally. I don't even know where that came from, I'm going to be 100% honest. John Bozdoğan comes on in the 2nd minute of extra time for Michi Batshuayi. Almost actually gets a chance late on. Finally, Ersin Destanoğlu in the 8th minute of extra time would get a yellow card for slowing things down right after what was a fantastic chance for them. Off of a deep free kick, it would find the head of, I think by Fire. It would find the head of Kayode, who would almost perfectly place this one and kind of drop it in over the head of our defense and even Ersin. But Ersin gets back and makes a fantastic one-handed diving, that final effort, just reaching and extending just enough to poke it out, kind of saving us yet again, all 3 points. And that's how it would end. 8 minutes of extra time, like I said, and Beşiktaş wins 2-3 on the road in Sivas. And like I said, tactically speaking, with the 2 defensive midfielders playing more for the counter, sure enough, Beşiktaş only had 53% of the ball to their 47. Sivas had 20 total shots to Beşiktaş's 17. Though Beşiktaş, so again, they had more, technically, shots. Although Beşiktaş had 10 on target to their 6. So certainly, a very close match as far as the major team stats go. one other, I suppose, important key stat is that Beşiktaş actually had 4 big chances to their 3. Although they missed 2 big chances, we only missed 1. And it makes sense, right? We scored 3. They scored twice. So either way, we earned a 1-goal victory one way or another. Now let's talk about individual stats. And again, I'll only list the players who played well, 7 rating and above. And I'll go from best to quote-unquote worst. Of course, right again, it's not the worst. The worst players I'm not even mentioning here. But so all the players who were rated well, right? The highest rated player, and this might come as a surprise to some. It shouldn't come as a surprise to everyone. And I'll note that another former podcast co-host, Kaan Bayazit, was very complimentary of Fajr's game, and very, kind of wondering if we should have brought him into our team, and everyone reminded him that, in fact, he was 33 years old, which surprised Kaan. But nonetheless, he did have the best match of anyone out there, statistically speaking. Then Michy Batshuayi, of course, he had a penalty goal, and although another goal as well, which was perfectly placed, a nice volley on his part. Certainly, he deserved a high rating. Then Rachid Ghazal. Now we're talking, I think, and I'll do his stats today. He gets my man of the match, I believe. Then there's Yatabare. Then there's Alex Teixeira, who certainly deserves a nod. Didn't contribute much statistically beyond the assist, but he clearly makes such a difference for us. Now that he's in form and ready to play for us, you can just tell how vital he could have been, especially in that first half of the season when we didn't really have access to him. And something was clearly lacking, right? There was Alex Teixeira at 7.73. Then Wellington had a pretty highly rated match. He tends to whenever he plays because of all the accurate short passing he does. And he comes up to the midfield often and contributes in that sense. Then you have Kenan Karaman, again, well-rated match, hardly a man of the match performance. Then Atiba Hutchinson, which shouldn't surprise anyone if they watch this one. He was really fantastic. He was all over the pitch. One of the guys who got around the pitch the most, as far as I'm aware of. Then Umut Meraş, fantastic assist, another good outing from him. It's nice to have 2 good left backs for a change. Then Uğur Çiftçi. Çiftçi is their left back. Then Valentin Rosier is the last highly rated player at 7.07. Surprising, I guess. He didn't seem to have his best performance, although he didn't make any big errors, and that's saying a lot, right? For a defensive player, sometimes that's all you really want to be able to say about a guy. I mean, in his case, he's a guy who can sometimes really stand out with his ability to go forward and whatnot. So, when he doesn't do that, you feel like there's something missing. But again, right, as far as him doing his duty as a right back, he did that admirably, and that showed in the stats. Now, I'll talk about, speaking of stats, the stats of Rachid Ghazal. He was rated an 8.4. He played full 90 minutes. He scored a goal, had 5 total shots. His passing, not particularly accurate, but that's in this case because he had a lot of long balls and crosses. He was 25 of 37, a 68% rate. He had 2 key passes, however, and he created 1 big chance. Folks will, of course, remember his goal with his head, which was fantastic. He had 2 shots blocked. He hit the woodwork once, which we mentioned on that free kick. He had 62 touches, so he was very involved. 3 out of 3 with his dribbles, 100%. He was 2 out of 5 with his crosses, so like I said. And he was 2 out of 4 with his long balls. So 4 out of 9 with those sort of longer balls that are harder to connect on. And that sort of explains why his passing percentage wasn't as good as one might expect for a man-of-the-match performance. And so, it's because he was taking chances with longer passes, more daring, risky passes. 6 recoveries, 1 out of 2 with his tackles. Nothing prolific in that regard. But yeah, just a great outing from him. I don't think anyone who watched this match will be too surprised by my giving him man of the match. Though, like I said, shouts to Alex Teixeira, Atiba Hutchinson, Michy Batshuayi, right? He's scored goals 10 and 11 on the season. He's now, I think, number 2 in the Super League as far as goals scored. And so for a guy whose season has largely been not successful, and I think nobody would necessarily argue with that, he's doing pretty well as far as like the actual numbers say. So like I said, if you really want to dig in to said numbers, he's got 11 goals and 3 assists in 22 matches. Hardly bad, I think we could all agree. Now, where does that leave Beşiktaş in the tables? Because of course that's the question. Now, Beşiktaş has played 27 matches. We got a big win here on the road, the first match of these big 7 matches in a row that are going to sort of make or break our season. With that said, it didn't affect us in the tables. We're still in 6th place. We're closer to the ruckus zone, but we didn't actually make any progress. And that's because everyone above us who we could have caught also won. And the guys who we couldn't have caught actually dropped points. So there is good news, but I guess let's talk about it, right? So first place, Trabzonspor. They won 3-2. Slightly fishy, whatever. They beat Kayseri though, so maybe Kayseri will be dispirited going into our cup match this week. Then it's Konya. Konya, who lost 5-1 against Alanyaspor. Tough outing for them. Then it's Başakşehir, who lost as well, 1-2 on the road against Fatih Karagümrük. So they have 46 points. So Konya has 49, Başakşehir has 46. Then it's Fener. Fener beat Kasim Pasha 1-2 on the road, scoring a goal in the first minute of extra time that was very fishy. Had they only gotten the 1 point, we would have been level with them on points. But instead, they have 46. Then it's Adana Demir, who drew against Antalya 0-0. Balotelli still has 10 goals and 3 assists, so Michy Batshuayi surpassed him. So they have 45 points. And if they'd lost, they'd also, again, have 44 and be level with us. But so then there we are in 6th with 44 points. One win, we'd have 47 points, and that could bring us as high as 3rd place, in theory. Especially because our next league match will be against Başakşehir, who is in fact one of those teams that's up ahead of us. And they're just, again, 2 points ahead of us in 3rd place. So if we were to beat them, that's guaranteed us moving up 1 spot at the very least. Meanwhile, also above us, Fener, they're hosting Trabzonspor in this next match. We might as well just root for Trabzonspor, honestly, because it's not like anyone's catching them. And then Adana Demirspor is going to be on the road against last place Yeni Malatya. So again, they'll be huge favorites. But on the other hand, with the season winding down, those relegation zone bound teams might be scrapping for any way out. So that might not be the best match for them. And then there's us. Of course, Konyaspor also, I guess I should mention. They're going to be playing Galatasaray, hosting. So Konya's playing Galatasaray, Fener's playing Trabzon, we are playing Başakşehir. The only side that we could theoretically get some stick from in this round would be Adana Demir. But on the other hand, who the heck knows what's going to happen? This is the Turkish Super League, right? Anything can happen. Let's briefly talk about Kayserispor, because we're going to be seeing them midweek in this Turkish Cup quarterfinals match. A huge match. It's the only way to get into the Europa League. I mean, you could very much make the argument that with 2nd place very much now within reach again, right? Because we're only 5 points out of 2nd place Konyaspor. Champions League is still in the running, in theory. And it's really the Champions League qualifier, which is very likely still Europa League, but in theory, it's Champions League. For transfers that you're bringing in, that's how you can advertise it, right? But it's good to have that Europa League sort of backup. I think we can all agree that if we can keep ourselves in the Europa League at the very least, that'll be a nice silver lining to this season. Now, it's worth mentioning the other teams that are still alive. If we are to beat Kayserispor, I think we're likely to play the winner of Trabzon or Antalya. Both tough opponents, for me, honest. On the opposite bracket, you've got Sivas and Fatih Karagümrük on one side of the bracket, right? And on the other side, it's Gaziantep and Alanya. So just a bunch of solid teams that are left in this one. If it's, I would imagine Alanya playing against Sivas and us playing against Trabzon. None of the big, the traditional like Fener and Galatasaray, the giants alive, and yet we have this sort of next generation of really solid Turkish teams. I don't know if we qualify. We're technically, of course, a historically strong team as well, but I think we're working with more going forward than those guys. I don't know. Fener will argue they have Ferdi, whatever, but come on, let's be realistic. They've largely just bought a bunch of old guys, so I'm not particularly worried about. And they have huge debts, and they're never gonna win anything, it seems. So yeah, I don't know. I feel like this next generation of Turkish football is going to feature more of the likes of Trabzon and Beşiktaş. Maybe even Sivas. Alanya is wishful thinking. They're even sliding a bit in the regular league. But instead of them, you've got the likes of Adana Demirspor, who are building some sort of an interesting foundation. I don't know how sustainable it is, but that's another question. Then you've got like the Konyaspors and Başakşehir. There are a number of sides that could theoretically be building on any success they find this year. We shall see. Hatayspor, right? But anyway, this match against Kayseri will be huge. Quickly, I guess, let me just briefly mention. So their leading scorer is Mario Gavranovic, 32-year-old Swiss striker who's got 9 goals and 3 assists. Not shabby. Oh, in fact, no, that's not even true. Mame Babatiam has 10 goals and 3 assists. So they've got 2 prolific scorers this year so far. Onur Bulut, 27-year-old German Turk, has 7 assists for them. So there's a guy to perhaps look out for. Of course, their keeper, Silvio Lung, 32-year-old Romanian, is always a tough cookie in there. So, yeah, lots to be weary of on their part. Lionel Carol as well. I don't know what the deal is with Mensah if he's out for the year, but I don't think we have to worry about him in this upcoming match. Either way, it's going to be a lot of fun. The Turkish Cup is always a bit of a wacky one. By the way, yes, Bernard Mensah is in fact out for the season. Good news, by the way, George Kevin Nkudu is back in training. So there's that. No word on Miralem Pjanic. I'm hearing like early March, so he probably won't be ready quite yet. Ozan also, I'm hearing early March. But so yeah, Nkudu on the other hand could be coming back any day soon. I don't think we'll see him rushed back onto the pitch given the nature of the injury he's coming back from. But it's certainly great news to hear that he is somewhat back, right? He's certainly at least back in training, and that's fantastic. Anyway, that's all we have time for this week. We will be back again pretty soon after this upcoming cup match. And then again shortly thereafter, after Başakşehir. So let's first of all mention the time. So Beşiktaş will be hosting Kayserispor on Wednesday, March 2nd. Just a few days away. Stay tuned for that. Check your local listings for time. It's on at 12:30 p.m. here in New York City. That'll be fun. After that, Monday, March 7th, Beşiktaş is hosting Başakşehir. That's noon here in New York City, local time. Again, check your own local listings. So yeah, March 2nd, March 7th is coming Wednesday. Next Monday, 2 huge matches. I'll be back before the Başakşehir match, I suspect. I'll try to be. But until then, follow us on Twitter at Eagles_podcast. Follow us on Instagram, Black Eagles Podcast, one word. Follow myself at Sir_Rights_a lot. Peace in Ukraine. No to war. At least that's my stance on things. And as always, let's go Beşiktaş! Peace out, everybody.
Ortada Bobo. Şimdi Bobo'nun önüne. Bobo aldı. Bobo girdi. Bobo. Bobo. Bobo çok babasın. Çok harikasın. Çok güzelsin. Harika. Harika. Harika. Bobo. 2-0. 2-0. 2-0. 2-0. 2-0. Yoldan geldi. Dışarı attı. Goodbye Liverpool. Goodbye. Beşiktaş Liverpool'a gidiyor. Karakartal Altay'a gidiyor. Beşiktaş Liverpool'a
Beşiktaş International hopes you enjoyed this program.